that indication. And what I can gather from that brief intervention is that the complications that led to the final crisis of the transition was the product of politicking, both within the political class and within the military politicians. So, but I want to go away from political issues to take on Elijah Ahmadu Abubakar, because one of the controversial areas of IBB regime was issue of financial management. You were Minister of Finance towards the end, and of course, it's common knowledge that for most of the IBB period, oil never rose above $9. So much so that some of the landmark projects you see, including the conference center, had to be built through a barter arrangement. It was only during the brief Gulf War that there was a bit of uplift in oil prices. What was IBB's financial management method that enabled him to accomplish so much infrastructural change with so little oil income? Elijah Abubakar.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, moderator. First of all, let me appreciate the family of IBB by inviting me to this panel. I happened to be at the beginning of it. I observed that IBB came into government, into the leadership of this country, well prepared, well articulated with its policies and focus, as composed by the three principles: the economy, the political, the social. The political are left it to General to explain. The social, I'll come into that later. We have the economic development. The issue is that how did he achieve this? The man came into government in August. 3 months later, we are more or less deregulated. Deregulated of the economy to the extent that we went into financial system deregulation, the political deregulation, the social, and also indeed the communication. That wouldn't have happened within the shortest time he was in government if he was not there prepared for it. How did he achieve this? First of all, I appointed the professionals to take care of the situation of how to do it. How did they do it? They were given the freedom of coming forward with policy initiative. And he's a good listener to whatever you said. He believed in the teamwork. He believed in taking into consideration the services of the public officers. We went into it. When we went to the banking system, for those who lived in the past, for the past 40 years or 30 years here, we know what was happening in the banking system. We deregulate that system, and then the communication system. You have people here, many newspapers, many transport. You go to the airport, what it was, and this. We went into that, and we did it. But particularly by March the following year, we fully deregulated the economy in the areas of financial system and private sector involvement. Therefore, we have institutions, agencies of the government, and leaving the private sector to handle the areas where the private people can do better, so that they have controlling system in those areas. But coming to the economy itself, it was such that the person listened to his public officers, the professionals. I remember for a case which he brought us to solve. We had a meeting with him, Ayekomo, and me with Central Bank. When he posed what to do, and I said, sir, it's not doable. He said to me, he said to us, it is our duty to propose problem. It is yours to solve the problem. Then he left. He left us with Oyekomo and others. And we were able to find a solution to it. Similarly, he was able to do it because he didn't bring any members of his family to play effective role in civil service at all. I came to know Mohammed few months or few weeks before we left the government in his office. That when he came to report that he had gone through his master's degree. Aisha told her, I didn't mean till you have the system. In other words, the public sector, the civil service in particular, they have the freedom. They have the freedom of running the government. 3, is a good listener. Is a good listener. If you come to him, you say to him this and that. Instead of saying to you, we are not going to do it, he will listen to you and look at the pros and cons of it and say, we go ahead. By that, he created confidence in his public officers, in his advisors. He created confidence in them to come to him, to advise appropriately, to do what they believe will help him, and to do what is right to do at the point in time. And up to date, that's what he does. I remember Chio Congo. When we were together with Chio Congo in the ministry, when he started, someone mentioned the case of State House, the conference center, the secretariat, and so many. The military headquarters, the movement from Lagos to this place. When we started, if he had no Caritas, nobody could do that now. Particularly the issue of movement from the old system, financial system, into the new one, which agrees with the present economic system, will require a courage. Yes. So we moved along that, and we were able to do what we believed will help him, because we believed he had confidence in us, because we believed he will allow us to do it. So if you go to the political side, the social system was the establishment of this institution that brought in the woman, the younger one, the people in the bush who could not have funds to run the business, and so forth. And in the banking system, I remember we approved about 37 new banks within the period. Some of them are the major banks today. We deregulated, we moved out from banking system and left the private sector to deal with it. Otherwise, all the banks in Nigeria at that time, Nigerian government had shares. They call it controlling shares. We were controlling shares. But we said, go ahead. But, pardon? So, in other words, he has his focus, he has the means to achieve the focus by getting the professional, he listens to the professionals, he agrees with them, and they move ahead.
The physical president.
Yeah?
He was a physical president.
Yes.
But thank you for the insight you have given us on his management of a very complex economic situation. Last and not the least, General Olagunsoye Oyinlola, I kept you for a reason. The reasons are obvious. One of them is that you became governor of a very difficult state towards the end. But more importantly also, you happen to have fairly close relations with two complex military leaders. One of them was the mentor and boss of General Babangida. What was it like wearing so many caps? You had obviously two bosses to relate to. You had a political role, but you were first and foremost a military officer. And you became governor of Lagos. I mean, governing Lagos is more complex than the rest of Nigeria. So can you share a bit of this experience?
Thank you very much. I think my own situation is not too different from the explanations of my boss, General David Mark. It was on this last Saturday. I met with Kazim Afegwa at the wedding ceremony in Lagos. And he asked me, "Are you coming for the dialogue?" I said, "Which dialogue?" He said, "One on IBB. I said, "I've never been told anything of such." The following day, I got the invitation, and I was told I was going to speak, or I belong to the panel that will talk on the economy during his reign as president of this country. I said, I think I'm not that competent to talk about his economic policies, because I was in the barracks throughout his time as president of Nigeria. I would rather want to speak on how he built his regime, his nuclear and larger family to which I proudly belong. I came across the then Major Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida 50 years ago. That was when I got into the Nigerian Defense Academy. I was 20 then, doing the short service combatant course in 1971. And he happened to be my company commander. I think out of sheer divine visitation, I happened to be one of the smallest in my course, and he had some sort of affection for me. Now, I want to only pick one of his characteristics that has planted love into so many families of his extended family. That character is one that made Kone Dangiwa Umar to say that he's prepared to be blindfolded and go into war with the IBB. His large-heartedness from my own experience, I will want to share so that the point can be driven home. As a lieutenant, I was commanding a squadron under him. I was a lieutenant, he was a lieutenant colonel, commanding a regiment in Ikeja. Then I was to go for a promotion exam, lieutenant to captain exam. And they called me and said, "Look, you have been nominated to go for an overseas course. You're going for that overseas course is dependent on whether you pass the exam or not." Then I got prepared. I told him in my usual manner that it's a matter of asking what position I will take in the exam. Failing it is out of it. So we were to go for this exam, and we normally take air warrant. Mixed up, I got to the airport. I was told that the plane had left for Jos. So I ran back to the regiment commander. I said, "Sir, I don't see me making it to the exam venue, not to talk whether I will take it or pass or fail. He asked me what happened. I said, sir, the aircraft had left. There was mix up in the timing for the flight. So he called his driver and filled his work ticket for his staff car. He said I should sit down in his office. I sat down and the driver came back, signed the work ticket and said, it's all yours. I said, all mine, for what? That he should take me to Jos. He was in Keja Cantonment that time. He could have asked the driver to drop him in his house, which was just about 10, at most 15 minutes walk. Yeah, I said, okay, sir, why don't you let the car take you home? He says, that one is none of my problem, that I should go. He called the dispatch rider, a lieutenant colonel. The picture is still in my head. Remove his beret, hang it on his shoulder, and climb the motorbike that took him home. That's one first show of love that beats every imagination. He remained an unusual leader. The second experience came during the time I was about to get married. I was a captain. So the normal tradition in the army was that before you get married, you must tell your commander that, sir, I want to get married. And you have to introduce your would-be wife gradually to the officer corps by bringing her to the mess, partaking in the officer's functions, and for us to gauge whether this is officer material or not. So when I told him I was trying to get married, he asked me, who is that unlucky girl? And I say, well, if she's unlucky, I'm lucky with you. She will get lucky at the end of the day. That wasn't the problem. Myself and my wife, we decided that he was going to be the chairman of the reception. We told him. But I was too carried away, not following the culture and routine of getting married. And I was getting married to a very large, popular family. And that is the family of late Dr. Moses Majakodumi, the former civilian administrator of Western Region, who had the then Lieutenant Muritala Mohammed as his ADC. So when he told me that I don't know what I'm doing, that it is the duty of the lady's family to arrange reception, and I was annoyed. I went back to my boss. I said, sir, I think I will put off this marriage. He said, what happened? I said, look, we have arranged that you are going to be, and my in-law is saying that it can't be so. So he calmed me down. He said, look, in fact, he was accepting to do that for me because there's been restriction for the members of the military council to limit the kind of engagement they go to. But he has an explanation that I was his cadet, I served under him as an officer. That is an excuse for him to be there. And he promised he will be there. And I haven't discussed that. Again, it surprised me. He gave me his staff car, his driver, his orderly, that took me to the church, with which I married my wife. Now, there was one thing that happened again. He came visiting as president to Enugu, and I was a battalion commander in Enugu at that time. While the reception was going on in Opara Square, he beckoned on me. I went to meet him. He asked me, do you know this pepper fruit? I said, yes, I do. Go and get it for me. Inside this arena, I left and got one of my senior officers' wife, because my family was not with me then, the then Colonel Shagutadi's wife. I said, look, come, let's go to market. He said, what for? pepper fruit. I didn't tell him who wants to eat pepper fruit or not. When we got, I washed it and put it in a bowl. Where he was seated at that reception, I walked with a bowl of pepper fruit. As I opened it, he took one, put it in his mouth, and I took one too, to show that, nothing is wrong with this. Then his usual abuse, you're a bloody idiot. If I know you are going to poison me, I won't send you. And people were wondering, what the hell was Oyinlola eating with Mr. President? Now, the one that surprised me most. After the unfortunate incident of Gigi Oka School, many years after, one of the key participants came to me and said, I want to make up with the general. I said, okay. And I told my boss, look, one of your misguided boys said he wants to make up with you. He said, yes, bring him. He came to his Abuja house, and I took the officer to him. I'm not too sure many people will be able to stand that kind of thing from a man that level his foresight, his rifle foresight against him. And that was how he accepted and forgave the officer. There's no time as small as I am that I extended my invitation to him that he was not honored. He has followed me to my village. During my retirement as governor of Osun State, and when I celebrated my 60th birthday. Well, IBB has a subtle way of scolding you when you do not carry out your assignment well. Your assignment if you don't carry it out well. When he sees any fault, he will always advise you, please use that uncommon thing called common sense. And when he gets annoyed, the only abuse I've ever heard from his mouth till tomorrow is to call you and say, you're a bloody idiot. That is General IBB for you. On behalf of myself and my family, I wish him many happy returns of his birthday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll just take 2 minutes from willing panelists who want to round up. Elijah, you lead. 2 minutes.
When we got into office, elected in the Third Republic, there was this hierarchy then. He was president under the military, while the states were running as a democratic formation. The relationships between governors and deputy governors have never really been that smooth. They are still working at it up till now. President Babangida had this unique way of stabilizing a very delicate situation. I happen to have been having a tough time with my governor then because of the way, as a woman, the way I was received by the public. It was a new thing, a woman coming out, and that created a lot, some sort of sensitivity, bordering on jealousy, and people, saying things that were not correct. Like she wants to be the governor, and she's acting like the governor. And that was a tense period. So much so that I had to take a special flight one day to come to Abuja to see Her Excellency, Madam Maria Babangida, to let her know what was going on in my administration. Because it was the approach of General Babangida, then President Babangida, that actually made this to have been happening as at that time. Because when we were not being treated right, the military had this Decree 18 or something that said deputy governors listed almost 40 functions that deputy governors should perform under the military experiment. And that is why some of us decided to take on this appointment, this election, and go into the election, because we knew what we were going to do. But when the democratic process started, they now introduced the constitution, which was called Decree 50 then. The Decree 50 now said deputy governors will only do what the governors assign them to do. You can imagine all the poor men, and me, a woman that came on board to be deputy governors, only to be treated as they called it spare tires at that time. And this didn't go well with many of us. So we approached President Babangida and said, this is what I actually approached him and said, this is what. He said, go and convene a meeting of all the deputy governors. Present your case, and we will look into it. If he was not humane, this is a military man, and I don't think General David Mark is my late husband's good friend. I haven't seen you in many years. God bless you. And General Olagusoye, the military does not, the democracy does not apply in the military. It's the go and come. For him at that time to have said, we will look into it, go and hold a meeting, and let me have the outcome of that meeting. Put together all your grievances. We will look into it. And I wish that has been followed up. And the Constitution actually is made to show that at least some functions, statutory functions, deputies can do some because many people have talents. They are lieutenants. But you should allow them also to be part of the process without necessarily feeling that they are going to take over. President Babangida allowed that. And it gave me some breathing space in Lagos State, because they knew he had the listening ear, as everybody has said. He will listen to you, and he will not only listen to you, he will send somebody to actually follow up the situation and make sure that the right thing is done. That's a good quality of a leader, of a visionary person, of somebody who has foresight. And this is something I wish is happening in our present situation. We need it for this nation to move forward. We need to have the physical presence of our leaders. They need to be in touch with the people they are ruling. It's not a question of I'm there and you are there. It's a question of we are together. Government of the people, for the people, by the people. It's not talking on top of somebody and thinking that things will get done. I'm appealing with this forum that people who are presently in office will look, use whatever we come up with here, because history, it fades. We are now bringing it up. What made Babangida to succeed? Because Babangida's administration was a success. It was a success for this nation. Many things were done, and they were done successfully. Bringing people into limelight, the economy was not badly run, and Nigeria was making progress internationally. I pray that they will look into some of the things we discussed in this panel to celebrate Baba's 80th birthday, and use it to make Nigeria, to rebuild Nigeria and make Nigeria a better place for all of us. Thank you.